Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by the voice of the Bobcats, Keaton Gillogly. Keaton, after an 0-2 start, Montana State has looked nearly unstoppable. What has stood out to you over this last 8-week win stretch?
This has been a really fun year, and those first two games were as difficult as everybody thought they were going to be. And I think it was probably pretty easy, maybe from the outside, to have some worries. But I think the thing that has stood out most is just that consistent improvement. It's been awesome to watch a lot of kids who are getting their first playing time, not just come in and perform, but get better week over week.
Why is head coach Brent Vegan so good at reloading and rebuilding?
It's an emphasis. They want to build depth. They want to build these reps for these guys. They do double repping at practice. So, you'll see two or even sometimes three sessions with every single person who is dressed and practicing that day getting reps like week in and week out. And the other part is there's a lot of proof of concept. That there has been a lineage of guys who have chosen to come here and develop. They do a really good job as well of communicating with the players about where they stand. When you tell a player, hey, we're going to start somebody else over you, but this is where we think you can get better and what you need to do to start continuing to earn more meaningful reps, more meaningful snaps on Saturday. Well, now you got guys who are competing, but also cooperating in different position groups. And that's a really fun thing. And that's a really cool thing. Just continuing to put a focus on building that depth and communicating to the players about where they stand and what they need to do has really allowed this thing to blossom over the course of the year.
We'll get into some picks now, starting with NAU going to Cal Poly. NAU is back in the top 25 after their win on Saturday over Northern Colorado. They really need to win out if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. Will they get the W this week at Cal Poly?
Yeah, I think they will. That NAU team had, the loss against Montana State and Davis, a hiccup against Idaho, which, it maybe looks like a bigger hiccup, in my opinion, than it actually is. Yeah, I think NAU under head coach Brian Wright, who has a tremendous reputation here at Montana State after being an offensive coordinator here back in the 2010s. But I think NAU is able to find a way to get down there, get it done. And Ty Pennington's a dog, man. He knows how to go out and win some football games. So I think NAU gets it done down in SoCal.
You brought up Idaho. They play Sacramento State this week. It feels like Sacramento State, another team who needs to win out if they want a chance at being one of those 24 playoff teams. Who do you like, Idaho or Sacramento State?
Yeah, give me Idaho in this game. Again, I think Idaho just they ran into some injury trouble in the middle of the season. That's really the reason we're not talking about them as a lock of a playoff team or a team that was even probably competing for a seed. I think as Idaho continues to coalesce around that quarterback and still get more reps, I think that's the play. And for Sac State, look, they're extremely talented. They've got a lot of individual talent on that team. It just hasn't always kind of come together as that cohesive unit week in and week out. Give me Idaho in this game. I just think Joshua Wood is the X factor.
Finally, our game of the week, UC Davis heads up to Bozeman to take on Montana State in a top 10 matchup on ESPN2. Lots at stake in this one. Big Sky title hopes still alive for both teams. And of course, the ultimate playoff picture. Who do you like in this top 10 clash?
As I look at this game, UC Davis is a heck of a football team, man. I mean, they are really, really good. I think this is going to be one of the toughest tests of the year for Montana State's defense and for the Vodcat offense. Let's see how consistent they can be and keep this thing humming. Because I know for UC Davis, they've had some injuries, particularly in that secondary. But like a guy like Jacob Syke on that defensive line is a monster as well. So they've got some really, really great pieces. I think they're playing really well together. And I think this is going to be a dynamite matchup. It's probably a coin flip, in my opinion, but the fact that it's going to be at Bobcat Stadium, I think, is going to be the difference for the Bobcats.
Awesome, Keaton. Well, thank you so much and enjoy that game in person on Saturday night. The Big Sky Championship is still very much up for grabs. However, the picture might look a little clearer after this weekend. Thanks for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I will see you all next week for our season finale.